I'm here doing some more green screen for you. I love doing this. It takes me about half an hour to set it up, but when it's set up, it works really well. One day I'm going to show you what I've got going on around me here to get me lit the way I'm lit and how my desk is. Everything changes for doing one of these, so I hope you appreciate it. So here's the super rare tank. It is the M6A2E1. You could only get this machine if you ordered the heavy package way back when the game first started. So there are very few of these machines left. A lot of players don't even play anymore. They've probably got one of these sat in their accounts gathering dust, I would imagine. And what a shame it is, because it's had buffs recently. According to Leon65, I haven't really discovered what those buffs were, but he says it's now a very strong tank if it's being attacked frontally. And maybe during, maybe after this match, I'll show you in Tank Inspector the model of the damage at the front of this tank. Its armor values are pretty spectacular, actually. Weak spots, huge ones. They're called the sides of a tank and the rear of a tank. This thing can be penned so easily. You'll see it happen in this game. But when you're looking at the front of one of these, it is incredibly difficult to penetrate the front. There aren't really any weak spots, but I'll show you that in Tank Inspector. So we've pushed up. We are top tier. There's a lot of tier 8 tanks in this match, and a lot of them are going to shoot at the front of Leon here, and they're not going to have any luck whatsoever. It's that kind of tank. It's a bit trollish when it comes in that regard, and it really does work well if you can get this machine into a corridor, or at least have all tanks in front of you with no chance of being flanked. So WZ111, we've got an IS3, we've got a Super Pershing over here, all pretty solid tier 8 machines, all with some nice big guns on them. And they're going to take their chances, they're going to put their shots in. And the trouble with these super rare tanks is you hardly ever see them in game, so you're not necessarily knowing where to shoot the damn things. It's got an M6 hull on it, and you think, well, it's just an M6 hull, I'll just shoot it in the hull. And it just doesn't work. The frontal armour on this thing is crazy at angles. It's got 260mm all over the front, and you're just not going to go through that without APCR. And there's only a couple of tier 8 premium tanks that can get through that, namely the Lerva, and I forget the other one, T-34. I can get through the front of this, even when it's angled. It's got about 290 paying with the APCR, and that's what you need to get through it. But at the moment, the IS-6 is going to bounce. The IS-3 has just bounced off the front of his sloped armour. And this is how you play this tank. You have tanks in front of you. You do not want tanks to your sides. That'll happen later on. And he's going to run into all kinds of trouble doing that. Gets a lovely little shot then at the cupola of the enemy IS-3, was it? Or IS-6? It was the IS-3. Get some tasty damage done. Tiger 1 decides he's going to poke around the corner at the top there. Looking at the minimap, we are safe and sound in this corner here. Nothing is coming around us. Everything's got to shoot at the front. All they can do is track damage. And that's ideal with this machine. Trust me, they cannot penetrate the front of this machine. None of those tanks can do it. All they can do is fire high explosive at it. I don't think any of them can try and do that. At the moment, they're all firing AP. So we track the Tiger 1. Keep him there. You don't want to let him get away. So put another shot in the same place. And he sat there. He's waiting. His friends aren't taking advantage of our distraction here. So they're just still sitting on that corner resolutely. And this tank is able to hold this position of the map. Their only chance of moving him from this spot is to go round him, and they will try that very shortly, and we get the kill shot on the side 1. We're off and running, 1 kill. Scores are pretty level at the moment, still could go either way. Now the IS-6 decides to push, and it's the right decision if they want to make any headway on this machine. So Leon here sees the threat coming in, decides to go around, and now we're going to see how easily this thing is penned. You can pen the side of this thing with a tier 6, frankly, and we're going to see that happen as well. So the IS-6 is waiting for him, gets a clean shot into his sides, Leon here, and he takes 377 damage. It's that straightforward. The sides are relatively paper. You can fire high explosive into the sides of this thing. That's what you ideally want to do to maximise your damage rolls. So we've got the tier 6 medium. The even he can pen him. The M4 can pen him on the sides. Does 125 damage. It's such a kind of one-dimensional tank almost. The M6. It is so strong on the front. We get a lovely snapshot there on the WZ. Come around, trying to keep these tanks in front of him, so he's doing the right thing. He goes around to face them. Imagine you could have turned your hull in a bit more then, mate. He might have actually bounced off it. But I imagine he's looking at his hit point pool, thinks he can take the hits. And maybe he's reading the mini-map thinking, I've got this in hand. Now, it doesn't move that badly, actually. It looks big and slow, and its top speed isn't very high. I mean, we're on this hard ground here, only doing 25, but it's quick enough to get away from the IS-6 and not let him get a shot at us. The I think the power-to-weight ratio is 14 on this tank, so it's not dreadful. It just doesn't have a very good top speed. It's dreadful on mud or swamp, that kind of ground. It's dreadful. It really bogs down and hardly moves. It's like driving through molasses. 3 kills. Get a nice shot into the IS-6. See, as soon as we're being shot on our sides, we are taking damage everywhere. And what an amazing machine. It just looks incredible. The alien tank, people call it. And most notably for the shape of its turret, where it extends out the back. Kind of looks a bit like an alien. And we get a nice little cherry on the top of our game here. We get this T-34 pop up, shoot him through a tree, and we'll roll over, look at Tank Inspector, look at the post-game stats and see how he did, and show you where you can penetrate this thing. Basically, sides or the rear. The front is just a no-no. Let's take a look. And welcome to Tank Inspector. This is the M6A2E1 Premium Tier 8 Elite Heavy Tank. And what a tank it is. It says you can buy it for 7,500. I've never seen this thing on sale myself. If it was, I'd be seriously tempted by it because it's just got that amazing frontal armour. Let's take a look at it on the armour view and see what kind of trouble the enemy tanks were having. If you're facing it square on, it's still pretty trollish. It's 240mm thick. Probably a lot of guns firing at it are barely capable of penetrating that, but just angle it a little bit and we leap up to the 260s, 270s very, very quickly indeed. Now your only chance really of penetrating from the front with regular rounds is going to be shooting that cheek here. That's what it looks like on a regular view. It's quite distinct, the cheek. Definitely aim at the cheek. It is only 200mm thick. The turret is basically a no-no as well. I mean, unless you're artillery of course. But the commander's hatch is quite thinly armoured. It's only 113mm, but you've got to hit the damn thing. And because it's such a tall tank, your gun is probably going to be where I am about now, so it's an absolute sliver of armour that you've got to try and hit. And if you go around the edges, you're probably going to bounce anyway. So amazing tank from the front, really thick armour. The sides, however, only 67mm thick on the hull, and the turret 113. Bit of a surprise around the back. The back of the turret has a whopping 200mm or thereabouts, so definitely try and shoot at the hull of this tank if you want to penetrate it reliably. You saw the M4 do it quite easily, and you should be able to no matter what you fire at it. Ideally high explosive if you can penetrate 67mm of armour, pump that into it and absolutely wreck it. Now this does get preferential matchmaking, only sees tier 9 games, so it can meet tier 9 tank destroyers. So they could prove a little more problematic shooting at the front, even a couple of tier 8 tank destroyers. Let's take a quick look in the Tankopedia at what a ISU 152 can deal out to it. Let's pretend it is probably maximising his armour and he can just about get 300. 300, you know, by that point you're really squaring off this side of the thing, and if you can shoot the sides from here, it's not very effective. Let's try and get the sides to where we're going to get a guaranteed ricochet. There we get ricochet. So maximising the front armour, guaranteeing a ricochet on the side. We're looking at about 280. Let's see what Tankopedia says. So here's the ISU 152. I've improved it. I put on the BL10 gun, and for regular shells firing at it, 286. So it's kind of knocking on the door of penetrating at an angle. It'll easily go through if you're sitting square on the front of the alien tank. However, its APCR rounds will easily penetrate it, doing 329 massive alpha damage. The Jagdpanther 2 with its top gun, also, if you load the APCR, will also go through it. Equivalent tanks, tier 8, the IS-3A, the new tank, even with APCR, it's going to struggle if the tank is angled. And the T-34 should just do it with the APCR rounds. If you get a good solid hit and it's angled not quite perfectly, then you should go through with those rounds. So it can be beaten from the front, but if it's over distance, the AP loses a bit of penetration anyway, so it's touch and go. Just try and flank these things, to be honest, and you can have a really good time then. Let's see how he did with his post-game stats. A very solid game for Leon there. Managed to pick up a first-class mastery badge. I imagine it's pretty straightforward getting mastery badges in this tank, because I think I've only seen one once in over 4 years of playing, I've seen one once in game. So they are really, really rare tanks. I probably won't see another one for another year or two, I don't imagine. Loads of pins and medals. We also picked up cool-headed steel wall, obviously, and high caliber. And as that quantifying numbers, XP 1235, nearly 4,000 damage done, 4 tanks killed, easily coming top on our team. Probably nearly double the next best player with damage dealt. And we blocked 2010 damage from enemy tanks. It wasn't actually shot at that much from the front, but when it was, it most definitely bounced every single time. Nothing got through at the front. Anyway, thanks for sending that one in. I'm really happy to show the very rare alien tank. Really nice to see it on the channel. And I shall do more of these videos in the future. If you've got a very rare tank, I'd love to see a replay of it. As long as it's not the Panzer IIJ, because that is no longer rare. Don't see many of the BTSVs. I'd like to get a replay of one of those if you've got one. Have an interesting game or a good game. That would be really nice. So, keep your heads down, drink plenty of water, and I shall play What Is Tanks again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.